In this first meeting, I would like to discuss about vowel and consonant sounds. Well, basically, when we talk about vowels and also consonants, it's very simply but a bit complicated. Well, a vowel consists of two things. A first one, a voiceless, and the second one is voiced sound. Well, consonants basically consist of three, and the first one is about place articulation and manner of articulation, and the last thing is the way how they are reached. Let's discuss before I discuss it further. Would like to um, give you an overview about pronunciation itself. Well, sound segments, as we know that it is known as language include knowing the sounds of that language. Well, phonetic is the study of speech sounds, and we discussed it in the first meeting. And we are able to segment a continuous theme of a speech into distinct parts and recognize the parts in other words. And everyone who knows a language knows how to segment sentences into words and words into sound. That's why we need to learn pronunciations. Therefore, you can recognize how to pronounce um, words when you haven't familiar with it. And this also as an identity of street sounds. Our linguistic knowledge allows us to ignore non-linguistic differences in speech, such as individual pitch levels, rates of speech, and even coughs. And we are capable of making sounds that are not speech sounds in English, but are in other languages, as if we are familiar with the IPA. And for example, the click TSK that signals disapproval in English is a speech sound. In languages such as Xhosa and Zulu, where it is combined with other sounds, just like T or K is in English. And the science of phonetics aims to describe all the sounds of all the world's languages. And acoustic phonetics focuses on the physical properties of the sounds of language. And then auditory phonetics focuses on how listeners perceive the sounds of language. And the last one is articulatory phonetics, focuses on how the vocal tract produces the sounds of language. And we also know about orthography. Well, orthography simply say like a spelling. It does not consistently represent the sounds of language, but the written, yes. And some problems with ordinary spelling, uh, like the same sound may be represented by many letters or combinations of letters, like he, people, key, believe, and you can continue pronouncing those words. And another problems that commonly occurs, like the same letter may represent a variety of sounds. For instance, father, badly, many. The next is even you often see this another example or problems, like a combination of letters may represent a single sound. For example, shoot, either, caught, deal. And then in another case, a single letter may represent a combination of sounds, such as Xerox. And you can see the letter underlined, and some letters in a word may not be pronounced at all. I'll give you an example. Anthem, and we do not need to pronounce N. And then lamp, okay. We do not need to pronounce P. If you are not familiar with those words, you can find the meaning of those words in a online dictionary. It's possible to check. And there may be no letter to represent a sound that occurs in a word. Cute, use. See, E in those words are not pronounced. In 1888, the International Phonetic Alphabet, or IPA, was invented in order to have a system in which there was a one-to-one correspondence between each sound in language, its phonetic symbol. Well, someone who knows the IPA, if you recognize the symbols in IPA, perhaps you will know how to pronounce any word in any language. Here you can check and you can learn identifying how to pronounce the symbols noted in IPA. And let's get discussion about consonants. I will split the explanations about vowels and consonants into different parts. But first, I would like to explain about the consonants in English pronunciations. First thing first, about place of articulation. Consonants are sounds produced with some restriction or closure in the vocal tract. Yeah, you also need to learn the um, human organs that produce the sounds in the vocal tract. Yeah, consonants are classified based in part on where in the vocal tract the airflow is being restricted. That is called as the place of articulation. The major places of articulations are labial, labiodental, interdental, alveolar, palatal, velar, uvular, and glottal. This is um, a picture of human organs that produce consonant sounds. Bilabials, the sounds like p, p, produced by bringing both lips together, while labiodentals sounds like v, v, produced by touching the bottom lip to the upper teeth. There you practice while I'm explaining so you can feel the movement of your tongue um, and, uh, and practice how to recognize where those consonants are produced. Interdentals, th, d, produced by putting the tip of the tongue between the teeth. And then alveolars. All these are produced by resting the tongue to the alveolar ridge in some way. The N produced by the tip of the tongue touching the alveolar ridge or just in front of it. A Z produced with the sides of the front of the tongue raised but the tip lowered to allow air to escape. And all the tongue tip is raised while the rest of the tongue remains down so air can escape over the sides of the tongue. Thus, all is lateral, lateral sound. And r. When you pronounce you feel air escapes through the center part of the mouth. Either the tip of the tongue is clerked back behind the alveolar ridge, or the top of the tongue is bunched up behind the alveolar. It's very principal and also theoretical, but you need to know this one, though we've discussed in previous semester. Now, palatals, produced by raising the front part of the tongue to the palate. Velars, k, k, ung, produced by raising the back of the tongue to the soft palate or velum. Uvulars, and then k, like GQ, produced by raising the back of the tongue to the uvula. Glottals, H, produced by restricting the airflow through the open glottis, or by stopping the air completely at the glottis. And the manner of articulation is the way the air stream is affected as it flows from the lungs and out of the mouth and nose. Voiceless and voiced. Though you also voiceless sounds are those produced with the vocal cords apart, so the air flows freely through the glottis, while voice sound are those produced when the vocal cords are together and vibrate as air passes. Okay, let me explain what is aspirated and what is unaspirated. When you feel like um, plosive in pronouncing whole, so you can say that this part of aspirated. And when you pronounce the word SPO, SPOOL, spool, you do not feel plosive inside. And oral sounds are those produced with the volume raised to prevent air from escaping out the nose, while nasal sounds are those produced with the volume lowered to allow air to escape out the nose. And so far, we have three ways of classifying sounds based on phonetic features: by voicing, by place of articulations, and by nasalizations or manner of articulation. Now, manner of articulations, we have stops, fricatives, affricates, liquids, approximants, trills, and flaps, and the last one is clicks.